Asus is back with a new flagship gaming phone, the Asus ROG Phone 9 Pro. What's new here, and is this the gaming phone to get at the end of 2024? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Asus ROG Phone 9 Pro review. Asus's ROG phones are powerful flagships that pack a ton of gaming-related features and customization options, and the ROG Phone 9 Pro is no exception. It brings quite a few upgrades, like a new Qualcomm chipset, an extra high refresh rate display, a larger battery, and a bunch of AI features, including some gaming-specific ones. The phone is made of glass, which is etched to provide a fuzzy, matte feel, and it curves down into the aluminum frame. You get a bit of a gamer vibe thanks to some decals, and it's neat how there's a missing chunk of the camera bump that mirrors the slash across the back. But what really lights up the back of this phone is this mini LED matrix display, which is programmable. This time around you get it on both the Pro and non-Pro models, though the Pro's is larger. ROG calls this matrix display Anime Vision, and it supports black and white GIF animations. There are a bunch preloaded, and you can import your own as well. And something new this time around is Anime Play, exclusive to the Pro model. You can actually play retro minigames on the back of your phone this way. Something a little inconvenient is that you have to select and start the games on the main display on the front side of the phone, then flip it over to play on this screen. Like previous ROG phones, the 9 Pro has a second USB-C port on the side of the device for charging and hooking up accessories, and also video output via DisplayPort 1.4. The ROG Phone 9 family has IP68 rated protection against water submersion. Just as before, one of the major uses of the side port is to connect the ROG signature cooling fan. The AeroActive Cooler X Pro is a Peltier cooler, which also packs things like extra button inputs for gaming, a kickstand, a USB-C port and headphone jack, and even a built-in subwoofer. And when it's on, it cools the phone significantly, for much better sustained performance during those long gaming sessions. The Cooler X Pro comes included with the ROG Phone 9 Pro Edition bundle, which we have here, but otherwise you'd have to buy it separately. Another accessory sold separately is Asus's Tessen controller. It's a universal controller with a whole bunch of bells and whistles, but unlike previous ROG controllers, it can't be attached together with the cooling fan. If you don't need the controller, the ROG 9 Pro still has the air trigger system. On one side of the phone there are two pressure-sensitive areas, which you can set up as inputs for your games. It's handy for certain genres like shooters. You can also use the air trigger as a shutter key for the cameras. Now the display. Like before, it's a 6.78-inch LTPO OLED with a 1080p resolution and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection. But this time, it also has an extra high 185Hz refresh rate. 185Hz won't be on all the time. It needs to be enabled within the game Genie and works for certain supported titles. Otherwise, you can opt for a fixed 165Hz across the board, or if you want an adaptive mode, it maxes out at 120. The high refresh rates smooth out movements on screen like swiping and scrolling, and allow for high frame rate gaming. If you're using an adaptive mode, it can dial down when you're not interacting with the phone to save energy, to as low as 1 Hz depending on the brightness. When it comes to brightness, we measured a maximum of over 900 nits with the manual slider, and this can boost to over 1900 nits in auto mode when needed. Plenty for nice visibility outdoors. The display is sharp and contrasty, and it has support for HDR10+ video content. Like the previous model, there's a hole punch for the selfie cam. Earlier ROG phones housed it within the top bezel. For audio, the ROG Phone 9 Pro has a headphone jack and a pair of stereo speakers, one of them bottom-facing and the other doubling as the earpiece. They have good loudness and the sound quality is great. The speakers aren't front-facing, but Asus's official cases will redirect sound from the bottom towards the front, making a sort of pseudo-front-facing setup. For biometric input, the phone has an under-display fingerprint reader, which is speedy and accurate. The ROG Phone 9 Pro comes with 512 gigs of storage, while the Pro Edition comes with a terabyte. That's not expandable through microSD. Gaming phones should have the best performance around, so it makes sense that the ROG Phone 9 Pro packs Qualcomm's top flagship chipset, the new Snapdragon 8 Elite. There's a clear improvement here over the previous generation, but as everything we've gone over so far, it's not so straightforward. The ROG phones have a default dynamic performance mode, And then there's a high-performance X mode which you can toggle on, which unlocks the phone's true potential. And it doesn't stop there. The max output you can get is an X Mode Plus, which can be enabled if you have attached the AeroActive cooling fan. In benchmarks, the scores you get from the 9 Pro in the dynamic mode are about on par with the previous model's max output in X Mode Plus. And with the new model's X Mode enabled, it goes above and beyond, as expected, earning scores that are significantly higher than what last year's flagships could achieve. The interface of the 9 Pro is a custom ROG skin on top of the latest Android 15. There's an in-depth overlay which you can call up in-game, called the Game Genie. It includes feedback about performance, as well as plenty of options to choose from. There's also a dedicated space in which you can find more in-depth gaming settings called the Armory Crate. The first thing you'll see is a game library for all of your titles. Each title gets its own profile, which you can customize with various options. But even further beyond those, you can dive into the advanced gaming tuning, which allows you to change system-level values for the phone's internals. And besides the customization for individual games, there's a console tab through which you can create system-wide changes and get real-time performance data. This is also where you'll find your options for the rear panel animations, the AeroActive Cooler, Game Genie, and air triggers. Just like the rest of the industry, ROG has stepped up its AI game this time around. There are several AI-based features that are meant to streamline your experience within supported games. Many of these features are specific to the popular game Genshin Impact. For example, the AI can pick up items for you and keep your character running in one direction without you pressing down the button. You'll still have to take the reins once in a while though. And in all games, you can get real-time translation and the ability to circle something and search for it on Google. There are also AI features for outside of gaming, like real-time translation of calls and transcribing audio into text and summarizing it. And AI is responsible for semantic search, which allows you to search the gallery and settings using natural language. Just as previous models, there isn't a ton of software support here. ASUS promises just 2 major OS updates. The ROG Phone 9 Pro has a larger battery capacity this time around at 5800 mAh. The battery life is improved too. It's impressive, with the 9 Pro earning an active use score of 16 hours and 41 minutes in our tests. As before, the ROG Phone 9 Pro supports 65-watt charging, and with the bundled adapter, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 76% in half an hour, and a full charge took 47 minutes. And there's support for wireless charging here too. And now the cameras. On the back, the ROG Phone 9 Pro has a 50-megapixel gimbal-stabilized main cam, a 32-megapixel 3x telephoto cam, and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera. The non-Pro model is the same, except that it replaces the zoom camera with a 5-megapixel macro one. The main camera produces 12.5-megapixel photos, and during the day they come out with good detail and nice-looking colors. The dynamic range is alright, but not overly impressive. There's a tendency to overexpose, leading to some clipped highlights. In low light, the main cam's photos are decent. Colors are nice, and noise is quite low. However, the dynamic range leaves more to be desired. The details in the shadows are soft and mushy, and highlights are often clipped. If you force on the night mode, the level of detail becomes very good, even in darker areas, which become much better developed. Highlights and light sources are better contained too. In daylight, the 3x zoom shots from the telephoto cam look good, but they're nothing spectacular, often coming out with soft detail rendering and somewhat limited dynamic range. Still, colors look good and are well matched to the main camera. And in low light, the telephoto does a good job. Its photos are very clean, with practically no noise. Dynamic range is good, and so are the colors. The ultra-wide cam's photos have good detail, but some noticeable softness, and the dynamic range is okay. Colors look good, and they're well matched to the other cameras. At night, the ultra-wide isn't particularly great, but it gets the job done. Dynamic range is surprisingly good, and so are colors. All in all, it's a good showing for this type of camera. Selfies from the 32-megapixel front-facing cam come out in 8 megapixels. They have a decent amount of detail, and skin tones look good. The dynamic range is alright. Here's a look at the quality of video recording from the ROG 9 Pro. The main cam can capture video in 4K and 8K resolution. But for some reason, the telephoto cam can only record in 1080p resolution. The ultra-wide cam has 4K capabilities though. And video stabilization works pretty well on the ROG 9 Pro. The main cam has both electronic stabilization plus gimbal stabilization too. So there you have it, the ROG Phone 9 Pro. Like its predecessors, it brings the best mobile gaming experience around. The list of features meant to improve the gaming experience is staggering, and honestly, we've only hit the tip of the iceberg in this review. Besides that, the phone has excellent sustained chipset performance, a great screen, impressive battery life, and pretty fast charging. Overall, if you're looking for a gaming phone and you want the best of the best, the ROG Phone 9 Pro deserves a full recommendation. Thanks for watching, guys. There are many alternative gaming phones out there, but you can check out our review of last year's Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro. Or if you want high performance on the Apple side of things, of course you can check out the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.